All right. Well, I'm sure that more stuff will come up as we dive into the subject matter because it's a hefty subject matter. And it's something that we can kind of get in the habit of is being mean to ourselves. So I want to help you get out of that habit, break that habit, and just let go of it completely. You don't have to form a new habit. You you actually don't I don't want you to be really, really nice to yourself. Like that you don't have to go the opposite way. And that's actually one of the mistakes that I made that I'll share. Well, it occurs to me to share a little bit of my story that I kind of shared it in the Facebook post, but I want to share it live now because there's a depth to it that I'd love for people to hear. And so I was sitting on a couch in my mother-in-law's house. I was just doing some work on a computer, and I had this realization. I realized that I hadn't been mean to myself in months. And it made me so incredibly grateful. I cried for a good 15 to 20 minutes. It was almost like a relief. It's hard to describe. It was something that I didn't think that would be possible. I didn't think it would be possible. I thought I would be mean to myself for the rest of my life. And maybe I will be a little bit here and there still, but it doesn't make much sense anymore. I've lost a lot of the juice around it, a lot of the pull around it. Um, I'll tell you a story about recently. I was taking care of a dog, my mother-in-law's dog, and he's getting older. He's a really giant Great Pyrenees, big and floofy, and he is in a lot of pain. And I went to help him up. It was 2 nights ago. I went to help him up, to grab his back end so that I could help him inside after I was trying to help him potty. And he turned around and he yelped and he bit my face. And I had to get 3 stitches. And I was upset, understandably upset. Like, God dang it! Now I have to go to the ER. But even after that, I didn't get hard on myself. I didn't think, what was I doing? I could have helped him out in a better way. I could have grabbed a harness. I could have done this. There was a little bit of a pull to do that. I felt a little bit, but it was just very weak. And that has been a freedom for me. And that's what I would love to share. If I can give you even just an inkling, just 1% of this freedom that I then this 60 minutes will have been worth it, uh, tenfold for me. And I hope it will be worth it for you. So I'm not going to be able to tell you exactly how I got there because I didn't do it on purpose. I guess is what I'm trying to say. There wasn't like a process that I followed. There were no steps. I simply realized that I hadn't been mean to myself. And there were things that I've understood, that I've come to know. And that understanding has helped me. So I'm going to share some of that understanding with you in the best way that I can and in a way that makes sense, hopefully. But I have that bad news that I'm not going to be able to give you a 3-step process. I'm not going to be able to make it super clear, I guess. That's what I'm saying. It is very clear and simple, but your intellect won't be able to understand what I'm talking about. It's just won't. So I encourage you not to try. Is that okay if I share and you don't have to get it? Cool. I'm seeing lots of thumbs up and hearts and but if you are feeling good, if you're having a hopeful feeling, if you're feeling like, man, maybe I don't have to be mean to myself. You're you're getting there. Really, you're there. I think that's one of the biggest pieces that I've seen more recently. If you see that something is possible, if you see that it's on offer, that it's on the table or it's on the menu. I've been using lots of metaphors with my friends lately about this, but if it's on the floor, it's on the table, it's on the plate, it's on the menu, it's somewhere. But if you see that it's available to you, then you're going to start to have hope. And you're going to start to look towards the possibility of it, even if you don't know how to do it. And something will come to you, something will make sense. You'll have new thoughts that tell you how you can be less mean to yourself. So I'm going to share kind of some of my thoughts, but really the true change is going to come from you. And anything that I say is just words. And really it's just the feeling underneath that's where the power of this conversation is. So that's what I'd like you to listen for and what I'd like you to look for. Cool. Oh, let me see. I did want to talk about psychological innocence. So I'm going to hit that. I also think it's really important to talk about positive thoughts versus negative thoughts and the relationship between them. So I'm going to talk about that. Other than that, I have maybe some ideas. I'm going to see what comes to me. And you guys are going to help guide me in this hour. I'm going to speak for another maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then I'm going to open it up to questions, clarifications, thoughts. So let's start with psychological innocence. And I think this is really going to hit what you wanted to hear, Divyesh, about looking back on life and having regrets and having things that you wish could have gone differently. You wish you would have shown up differently or changed something or those moments where you're like, if I could go back and I could do this all again, man, I'd do something really different. Like, would I have picked up that dog? I would change that. I didn't like getting stitches, so I probably would want to try to not get stitches. But I think if we really look at it and we really see that we were operating from the best thinking that we had at the time, that we couldn't have done any better because we were already at our best in that moment. That doesn't mean that our that best was the best of us. It means that it was the best of us at that time. And that's really helpful to see. Sometimes when I have thoughts that go there that say, man, I really wish I would have done things differently. Like for me, it's my relationship with my wife. I really wish I would have done things so differently. I could have avoided so many fights, arguments, pain, suffering. But I see the futility in having those thoughts. I see that I was operating the best I could. I was just going from what I knew at the time. And now that I know a little bit better, I can be grateful for that. And that gratitude is powerful. And I can focus on that rather than regret. I have that choice or that power. I do that by letting go of the regret. I do that by bringing myself back into the moment, by not perseverating over it. And that takes a little bit of getting used to because it seems valuable to go back and regret like we can do something about that, like it's doing something, but it's not. And the same thing is true about the future. When we worry about the future, we think it's doing something that it's not really doing. It's just an expending of energy. It's just our mind kind of exercising itself. And we don't have to do that. We can slow down because the mind's running. We can slow down to a walk, and we can even just stand and be present in this flowing moment. So I think that's really helpful to see. That really helped me, was seeing my own psychological innocence, seeing that I wasn't, I wouldn't say I wasn't at fault, but psychologically I wasn't at fault. That I couldn't have done it any better and be okay with that. Cool. Any questions, you can put them in the chat. I'm gonna keep talking, but you're welcome to throw them in the chat and then I'll address them. And then in a couple more minutes I'll let you share as well. So I do want to talk about positive thoughts versus negative thoughts as well. Because I think this really tripped me up. I thought before I found the understanding that I now share in my coaching that the pathway to being okay, to being my better self, was through positive thinking. And I tried to do everything I could to think more positively. I filled notebooks full of affirmations. I did positive mantras. I meditated on joy and forgiveness and connection and love. But still those negative thoughts kept showing up, so I thought something was wrong with me. And I think I was falling into a trap of mind, a trap of thought. And the trap is this. It's that every positive thought has a negative side to it. If I'm amazing, I'm also terrible. Does that make sense? Like, if these conditions make me amazing when I get everything right on a test or something like that, then if I do something harder and I mess up, then I'm terrible. It flips. So all of that positive thinking, it has this hidden duality where there's a negative side to it that we can unconsciously feed if we feed into the positive. We give more energy to the positive and we build ourselves up and we're going to go up, 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 up. But that just kind of creates this momentum that tips and then we go down, crashing down. And I rode this roller coaster for months and it took so much energy and it was hard. It was scary. But I thought I was doing everything I could to bring myself to this land of happiness that I thought I could live in with happy thoughts. And so that doesn't mean don't do affirmations. It doesn't mean don't say I'm a great person. It's I'm not saying that. It's better than saying you're a terrible person. But if you really feed into it, then you might find yourself on the other side of it. And that's the danger, I think, of it. So I encourage people to just really dismiss any thinking. It can be positive, it can be negative. Just get into the habit of that. And that has been a real game changer for me lately. And I do that by focusing on the present moment. I do that by bringing myself into my senses, into the feeling rather than the thinking. And that can be hard because there's a part of us that thinks that thinking is this incredible tool that solves all of our problems and has solved all of our problems in the past and will continue to do so. But if we really look at it, it hasn't done that. It takes credit for it. Our intellectual minds take credit for so much. Really, it's just kind of a commentary. And there is something else that is just so present and connected. It's more of an expansiveness that is beyond the happy thoughts and the bad thoughts, so-called bad thoughts, the negative thoughts. And that's where I really encourage people to look towards, because in that space there is peace, even in the turmoil of thought. That is something I didn't know. One of my mentors, Dicken Bettinger, said that the meditative mind is not a mind devoid of thoughts. I'll repeat that. The meditative mind is not a mind devoid of thoughts. So the thoughts are allowed to pop in, and I just bring my awareness into the senses. And I'm doing that a lot, a lot, a lot. And it seems like a really good idea because we're nipping it in the bud, I feel like. Instead of going down these thought trains for hours, or these paths that look like they have some fruit at the end of them, we want to realize and see that it's just an illusion, that there's something at the end of this swirling thought trail that I think I can take and get somewhere, and that there's nowhere to get to, and because I'm here right now. That's presence. So I think that's really cool. That I try to point people towards that. And then when some people think that life becomes very dull when you don't have positive or negative thoughts. I still have positive and negative thoughts. I just don't pay as much attention to them. And life still goes, and I feel good sometimes and I feel sad sometimes, and both of those are okay. I think that's the third thing that I'll talk about, and then I'll open it up. It's, I think what we can do, and this is really where we get into trouble, is the judgments about the judgments. When we have thoughts about ourselves that are negative, and then we have a problem with that. We say, "Oh, I'm a horrible person. I effed up." And then we say, "Oh, I shouldn't be thinking about myself like that." I need to get rid of that thought. It's actually the second thought that gives the first thought power. It's the judgment about the judgment that gives the judgment more energy. If we just allow that first judgment to be, and we don't give it, we don't have anything on it. We're just like, oh, that's a judgment. Instead, that's a judgment. Get it away from me. Oh, that's a judgment. It can change how we approach all of our thoughts. It changes your relationship to your thoughts and your emotions. So I think that's really helpful. And I can't get out of this without saying how important your emotions are. How important feeling is. Because thoughts are not in the moment, they're not of the moment, but emotions are. Feeling is. And it is telling you about the state of your mind. Sometimes that's all that's needed, is to realize how painful the thoughts that I'm having are about myself. It shows me that I'm going in the wrong direction with them, and I can wake up to that. And oh man, like I had this realization. Uh, oh man, what was it called? Mavis calls this the kindness of the design. I didn't know that before. That there's a kindness to the design of our thoughts and feelings, in that the feelings are telling us where our mind is at. And so this whole time, my whole life, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. I was so emotional. This whole time, my emotions were trying to guide me home. They were trying to bring me back to myself. They were telling me where my limitations are and where I should take a U-turn. They were directing me. I just didn't understand the signals. And I think we all fall into that trap. It's easy to fall into because it feels like the emotion is so powerful. It must be telling you the truth of a thought. But if you flip that, you see that it's telling you how distorted a thought is. Man, that can set you free. Hmm. Cool. Thank you, Katrina. So I'd love to give us plenty of time for questions, for thoughts. Julio, if you'd love to kind of re-ask your question about thoughts, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you've heard and how that applies to your job search, if you're comfortable sharing. Or anyone else is welcome to pop on and say what's coming to them. Maybe it's a question, maybe it's an insight. I'd love to have that space for shares. Go ahead, Katrina.
I don't know whether it was because I don't know if Julio wants to come back first.
No, I'm fine. Go ahead, Katrina. I will write all my
Okay.
thoughts, uh, and Rich can address it later. Thank you.
Go
What
ahead.
came up for what came up for me when you were talking about the positive and the negative, what was really helpful for me to see is when I labeled it positive or negative, that judgment bit,
Mm.
I was um I was making it a should or a shouldn't. It was thought control. I was trying to control the thinking. And it was really helpful to stop trying to control the thinking, because that's my thinking, trying to control my thinking, which is a bit of a loop.
Mm.
And to see that it's all thinking, but I'm not the thinking. Thinking changes all the time, but there's something that's stable and constant. And when it sends me a message, it doesn't sound like dreadful suffering, and it doesn't sound like wow, total excitement and wow. It's quiet.
Yeah.
It's just quiet. So quiet that I took it for granted until I started understanding how it worked and getting those glimpses of how it works. It's always there, and it's quiet and it's mundane and ordinary. And that's why I didn't notice it, because it's so ordinary that I took it for granted. And the more I notice it, the more I know it's there. And then when I'm in the moods where I'm trying to control the thinking, because we all do, I start to notice that's what I'm trying to do, because it doesn't feel quiet. And then I sort of don't take it so seriously, because I know that the gold is in the quiet bit.
Mm.
And I also, when you were talking about the positive and negative, I could see a big yin yang. And I know that you've got the two sides of the yin yang with a spot of each in the other.
Mm.
But the important thing is it makes a whole.
Yeah.
It's the circle that represents the whole.
Mm.
That holds the thought, holds the positive, the negative, the thought. It's all within this whole, this quiet, timeless space.
Mm. I love that, Kat. Do you prefer Kat or Katerina?
That's fine. I like that.
All right, I love that. It's easy to miss out on one piece for the whole. We can zoom in and we're just blinding ourselves to what's really there. And that's just innocent misunderstanding. It's just a zoomed in perspective. And that was going to happen. I think one of the things that is really helpful is to not expect us to not have thoughts, positive or negative. When like I would have been okay if I would have had negative thoughts about myself from this understanding. And maybe I will, and it'll probably come up still. But the goal is not to expunge them from my brain and my life. I tried to go about it that way. And like you found, you loop around and end up the other way. You end up just feeding it and in this endless circle of trying to control, like you were talking about. It's taking you in the wrong direction. And I love your thought, your calling back into the quiet, because that is where we are going to find something that we've never seen before. All of these thoughts we've had before. These self-conscious thoughts, these fears, these insecurities, they're just repeated. They're not anything fresh and new. Yeah, go ahead.
In understanding that, I could see the safety. Because if I'm not the thoughts, it's safe for the thoughts to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. I don't have to control them. They can be there.
Mm-hmm.
Friend and I, a couple of weeks ago, had a lot of thinking. And so we drove up on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere and danced to Rage Against the Machine. And told the universe how we felt. And it was exhilarating. And afterwards, I knew I was alive. Because it's safe for the thinking to be there. And it had shifted. And I notice how, when I know that, I notice that I can be joyful and enraged simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
I can be sad and happy simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
I can feel all these conflicting emotions at the same time. And that's normal.
Yeah. I think that's called being human.
I think so.
Okay. Do you mind if I share something that I feel like is really helpful? So, I was having a conversation with some friends at this coaching training retreat that I did a couple weeks ago. And we were talking about the energies of life. So there's the energy of mind, which is also the energy of heaven. The energy of the earth, which is consciousness. And a lot of people are like, okay, those are great. I want to be in the energy of heaven all of the time, or I want to be in the energy of consciousness all the time. But to have a human experience of life, you have to have a third energy, which is the human energy or the energy of thought. And within that, there is frailty. There are mistakes. There's imperfection. And a part of being human and it is embracing all three energies and seeing them for what they are and being okay with the wholeness of it and also being okay being human. It's great. It's the only way to not feed into your own upset and your own criticisms about yourself. is to not have a problem with being human. Go ahead.
When you put it as the three together, I just sort of, I don't know, my brain works in sort of symbolic things.
Mm-hmm.
I think most of us do. But I saw the fire triangle,
Mm-hmm.
and that you've got fuel, oxygen, and heat. And if you take one of those away, you haven't got fire.
Yeah.
All three are essential for us to be alive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all three energies are essential for us to have a human experience. And if we reject any one of them, we will create suffering. And that suffering is showing us that we are rejecting one of the energies of our experience of life. Yeah. Thank you, Kat. Cool. Yeah, Julio. He wrote on here in the chat, I wonder if there's any way to reduce the initial negative thoughts, example, lack of skills or requirements, when facing new challenges. So looking for interview opportunities. Uh, so instead of looking to opportunities and positive things that could come out of them, not to anticipate the bad or good results, instead try and train your mind to look to understand better what could come out of it in a more neutral way. I've always liked the famous inspirational quote inscribed above the entrance to Wimbledon Center Court saying, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's a great quote. So, the question is reducing the initial negative thoughts when facing something new. To meet with triumph and disaster and see them as the same. So I think that one of the best ways to do that is to not make it about yourself. Whenever you are going into something new, you are making it about you if you have all of these negative thoughts. I'm not good enough. I don't have the necessary skills. Like, you don't know that that's the case. And in fact, you don't have to decide that. Other people do. It's not your job to decide whether you're good enough to apply for a certain position. It's the people who are going to look at the resumes. And so you take that off your plate. You make that not a job you have to do. And also, the same is true if they say no to you. It's also not about you. They're looking for a certain something. And if it's not you, that's okay. You don't need every job. You just need one of them. Now, can you get more clear about sharing your skills and showing people how incredible you are? Yeah. But I think that that's not necessarily from a trust in yourself. It's from a trust in that greater mind, that greater wisdom that you have, that we all share. It's a shared resource. And when you're coming from that, man, you can really go and do anything. You might be crud at it at first. And by that you won't have as much success as your mind will be telling you that it should. But you just don't pay as much attention to that because then you can make it less about yourself, and then you make it more about the experience of it. I think that's one of the secrets to long-term success, is to be willing to try things, to experiment, to be creative, to mess up, to foul up, to put your foot in your mouth. Otherwise, if you're not putting your foot in your mouth every once in a while, you're gagging yourself. You're silencing yourself. So I'm hoping, it seems like maybe some of that is helping. Um, I love that. Katrina wrote, "How do you change illness to wellness? Change the I to we." Yeah, you make it not about you, you make it about us, or our shared understanding, or shared wisdom. The ego is in the I. Great. Julio says, totally helps. Thank you. Yeah. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to share about? Questions, thoughts?
Yeah. Hi, hi, Rich, and everyone. Katrina, thanks, and for those lovely answers. I wanted to. You used the word when you were in the first bit when you started talking about the futility. I don't know whether you remember in the context. I remember sort of said, let me remember that if I can.
Mm.
I seem to have now forgotten the whole context of the word, but given that word came out today, futility, I can see clearly many a time the futility of my overthinking, or whether it's the past or the future. And yet I continue to dig, like the second arrow in Buddhism, like you've got the first crap shoot, which is whatever it is.
Mm.
And then you add the thinking or the opinion. So I continue down the second and the third and the fourth arrow on this thing.
You're just jabbing yourself with arrows at this point.
Jabbing myself with the arrows. So that's being mean to me. So even if you see, the reason I see a little bit the futility more is the awareness, being in this conversation for a little while. But it is futile. You even mentioned that, what Dickens, or rather when you say there's a thought train and you don't have to follow it.
Mm.
Like, so the futility can be quite apparent for me, and I'm very grateful for that. It's the fact that I followed down the abyss. Is there anything in your experiences, anyone on this? What would you suggested, Rich, here, and you many times like come back to your senses right now, be present.
Mm.
Um, but I wonder why that doesn't. Why does my thinking even override that? Like, what is it that I'm so attached? Christine Heath once said, "Infatuated with your thinking." That's a very apt, because we grew up infatuated with our thing. But anyway, yeah. So you got the idea what I'm trying to ask. Thanks.
Mm. Yeah, let me see if I've got this. So it sounds like you heard something in that there was a futility in your thinking, that you've gone down these rabbit holes that it tries to take you on. You've followed it to the end of the chain, and you've ended up nowhere. You've ended up in
Yeah.
just more mental chaos. And you're asking, well, why the hell am I still doing that? If I've seen it and I know it every single time that I follow
Yeah.
it, and then it just ends up in the same place.
Yeah.
So I think there's one piece of it that that is trying to tell you something. That when you follow these dead ends, that is a part of finding the better way to use your mind. So no trail is the wrong trail. No path is the wrong path, because every single one is going to show you whether it's guiding you home or away from yourself. And I think that you still see a lot of value in thought. You still see that well, maybe this time maybe it'll bring me to the pot of gold this time. It's like following the rainbow for a pot of gold. Um, you're like, okay, I'm gonna chase the rainbow, and maybe this time it'll take me there. And the reason why you believe that is because thought tells you that. Because thought thinks that's true. Because it only knows itself.
Can I say something, Rich?
Please.
Yeah, you're so right. I mean, I'm so, it's habitual, whatever you want to call it, but that idea of thought having all the answers, or rather extra thinking on the same obsessive, compulsive, insecure thought, when it has really never, in hindsight, ever led anywhere.
Mm.
But the fact, you also mentioned something quite wonderfully here in this session we are having. You say the Katrina, you say the three energies, and you said mind, consciousness, and thought in one, like just
Mhm.
one. The one which I discount oh so readily is divine mind,
Mm.
right? And I think you and I in a conversation have brought this up also. The trusting, having hope and trust. Hope as in not in a wishful thinking, but having faith, whatever word,
Mhm.
the existence of this impersonal intelligence which can carry the weight. And it's only very recently maybe I'm coming to terms that I'm still fully not there. So yeah, but you brought it up today, and I'm really glad. Thank you.
Mm. No, actually, that was kind of where I was going next. So thank you. You've segued beautifully. Because you're right that if there's not a better option, thought is going to seem like the only deal in town. But you're starting to see, and I think it's really important to see, that there actually is a better option. And that is what some people might call mind or universal energy. Really, you can just say it's something greater than our personal thinking. That's it. That's maybe the easiest definition for us to
Yeah.
swallow. And if we know that that's on the table, if we start to get a sense of that and really feel into it, we're going to be able to see that thought doesn't have all the answers. And in fact, this energy already lives us. It already gives us breath, life. It filters our blood, pumps it through our hearts. I don't have to worry about all of those things. I don't have to worry about this cut healing right here on my lip. My body's going to take care of that. I would mess it up if I had to use thought to heal my cut. I would forget about it, or I would overthink about it, and I would it'd be like watering the plant too much or underwatering it. So we've got that going for us. And actually, so I met with Dick and Bettinger recently, and he shared with me that there's a new book that's out. It's called Beyond Diagnosis. And they're doing a research study on the effectiveness of this understanding that I share. Some people call it the three principles understanding, first originated by Sydney Banks. And they found in this research, what they did is they went through and they asked everyone, what was the most helpful thing about this? And they said it was three things. It was that my thought creates my feelings. Number two, it was that there is something else that is a greater energy that is helping me live my life. And number three is that when I have a bad or challenging feeling, it's showing me that I'm going further away from myself. And I think that you can get that first part, but if you don't get the second part, the mind, the energy that's behind us, then you're going to rely on your thinking. You're not going to see that there's a something better, something that works effortlessly, something that is built with peace at its core. And that it is a gift to all of us, and that we were born with it, from it, and that we are of it, and that it is inseparable from who we think we are. And when we see that, it can allow us to hand off some of our mental tasks. And that gives us more peace and more freedom. And I'm in a learning curve of that. I have seen a little bit more of it, and I've trusted it a little bit more. And I love that you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. You get to go out and try it. And see what happens when you give whatever we're calling this thing. You can call it the Tao, you can call it God, you can call it mind, you can call it Steve. Like whatever. But when you give it a little bit more trust, you see what happens. You see the freedom in it. You get a taste for it. And then you're going to start looking in that direction the rest of your life, and you're going to be on a learning curve that brings you towards that. Now you know it's on offer. Now you know what's on the menu. And what's on the menu is not being mean to yourself. And the first step to that is not taking whatever mean things you say about yourself as seriously. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Divyesh.
One quick last thing. Because I go to, I think, everybody here might be aware, but I do go to my 12 step once a week, purely because I love the friends I've made there.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things a lot of them keep on sharing in the AA or whatever is I'm a bozo at the back of the bus, or I'm a wretch, or it's sort of ingrained in that whole fellowship. Like you're deformed, and I'm sick, I'm diseased, and a lot, and then translates later on into I'm a very sick man and I'm diseased. And after coming to the principles, I think I'm creating a bit of stir in there that we are all innately well, Uh, and I said last time, I refuse to play with the notion that I'm a bozo at the back of a bus.
Mm,
And I said, you talk about higher power because it is the central tenet. It's a spiritual program and it works. I mean, except for a few little things like this, like bozo and I said, we talk about a higher power, but I have a feeling from my experience that we are connected with this 24/7. So I don't know anything we add on it. I'm a bozo, I'm a wretch, or I'm this. Is my thinking at the moment adding this crap on the gold?
mm,
Uh, I mean, I don't know whether I make any more friends, but I mean, but I know for me, it's lovely reassurance, and the feeling is good when I leave or in that meeting or after that I can feel the lightness with my existing friends and people come and ask. It's a lovely experience altogether. So thanks.
mm. I love what you shared, Katrina, about that too. You said forgiving. Yeah, being in a state of forgiveness and seeing the innocence in other people. I think that's really great to allow them to have their experience while also knowing that they have that within them too.
Yeah.
I hear my daughter calling. Can you hear it? No, Zoom is very good at filtering that out, and that's a very good thing because there's some fun things happening out here. But I'm gonna get back to my daughter. I want to thank everybody for joining us today, and thank you for your time, your energy. It's a gift to me to be able to share these things. It it grounds me, so I get a lot out of it. I want you all to know. And I hope you do too. It's just, yeah. Thank you, Dennis. I really, really good to see you. I'll be doing
Thank
these
you.
once a month now. I've got an in-person one if you're in the northern Colorado area next Saturday. And so, oh,
Thank you, Rich.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, Katrina,
Bye,
Thank
Dennis.
you,
Everyone.
Katrina.
Rich.
Bye,
Thanks,
Julio.
everyone.
Bye,
Bye,
Dennis.
bye, everyone.